listening to this week's episode of Pre-Brawl, your prep show for the Tavern Brawl in Hearthstone, part of the Hearth Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Pre-Brawl. This is episode 4 for the week that starts on the 8th of July. My name is Christopher Puner, and with me, as always for these Pre-Brawls, I'm joined by a Mr. Aidan Frost Rockarts.
Time to summon some shit.
Yeah, dude. This week's Tavern Brawl is the Great Summoner Competition, which was kind of confusing for me at first. But the rules are pretty simple. This Tavern Brawl has a random minion summoned for the player each time they cast a spell, and it's for the cost of that spell. And so one thing I feel like we should probably mention going into this, as soon as you guys are like thinking about, decks to build and stuff like that, this is even like the affected cost if you have like reduced cost. And also, opposingly, if you make spells cost more, then that's the cost that will like search for a random minion of that one. So you can't like build a deck that makes all of your spells like free or whatever, and you would just get a bunch of 0 and 1 drops. You wouldn't get like 4 or 5. What you're trying to do. But yeah, so I played a couple of games. Aidan, I know you played a couple of games. Let's talk about first impressions on this. How do you feel about this theme?
I'm really happy that it's like a more skill-based one. I think the web spinner one last week was a little bit more like hit face and hope for good RNG. But this one, you can like build super cool decks around just like different cost spells and stuff. So like there's a lot of theory crafting going into it.
Right. I mean, there is still an element of RNG. I feel like there always is going to be when we're talking about Hearthstone in general. Constructed maybe a little bit less so, but even here, you're still getting a random minion at the cost and stuff like that. And
I would say it's controlled RNG, though.
It more is, because it narrows it down. You have an idea of what to expect, so you can still make educated plays. But yeah, there's still some there. Like, I was getting a couple of cards that were just like battle cries that were shit. I think I got that one... That 3-drop, that's a 2/2, but you can choose to make it a 2/5 or a 5/2, that Druid.
The Druid of the Flame?
Druid of the Flame, yeah. And I got screwed because it was a 3-drop, just 2/2. I'm like, wow, that was terrible value out of that card. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But, inversely, you can get some pretty clutch and interesting things. Like, I had a pseudo Murloc deck going on because I just kept summoning Murlocs. It was pretty funny.
There's lots of crazy things, because, like, the way that the mechanic works is... You play your spell, it summons the minion, and then the spell actually goes off. So, like, if you play a 5-mana spell, you might summon a Violet Teacher, which then will summon the Violet Teacher, proc her passive, so you get another 1/1, and then it will cast the spell. So it's like, it's kind of RNG based, but I mean, it's a ton of fun if you get some clutch things. Yeah. Like, you could use a 7-mana or 6-mana spell, get the +1 spell damage card, and then your spell does 1 extra damage to the minion that you're targeting. It's like, just crazy. Like, it can affect your play.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I was playing mage quite a bit, and the counter spell, when I would put up a counter spell, by the way, secrets also count. I didn't think, first of all, that they would count as spells, but I guess they are technically spells. So it's kind of telling when you know what the mana cost is for some of these secrets, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was playing mage, and I put down counter spells, and they would play a spell, and they would get their minion, and then the spell will be countered.
Yeah. Which
is cool. And so I think that's kind of a good thing, because otherwise mages would be OP as hell with counter spell, because you would just like negate an entire turn from them. That would just blow. But yeah, there's that. What sort of classes did you play? Like, what was your first impression on what you should be playing?
The first thing I wanted to do was make a priest deck, because I thought a priest deck would be really cool, because this is more like, you can't really rush people down if they can like count. If, like, for example, if you're gonna play like Hunter or something, and then you get like Flame Striked, not only do they clear your board, but then they get a 7-drop, right? So you can't really play as many aggro decks. So I'm like, I'm going to play like a control-oriented, maybe more of a tempo deck, right? So I made a good old Priest deck, and I didn't have much success with it. I don't play Priest a lot, though. Like, I think Priest is honestly one of the best classes there is, but I mean, it was a lot of fun. Like, doing stuff like mind controlling, 10-mana mind control. There's only 2 10-mana cards in the game. There's Sea Giant and Deathwing. Like, so you not only do you mind control their big drop, but you get a Deathwing, right? Like, it's just, I love playing Priest. It's so much fun. They have so many control spells that it's like, not only do you steal their minion, but now you get a randomly summoned minion. It seems like a really, really strong deck. But
Right.
I kind of transitioned over to Druid, which is my favorite right now. Druid has so many good cards that synergize with the mechanics of this. Like a card such as Power of the Wild, 2 mana. You choose either to give all your minions +1/1 or summon a 3/2 Panther. It's like if you can coin out Power of the Wild, then summon a Panther, you get 3 minions for 2 mana, right? I mean for 1 mana.
Right.
It's crazy. Or like using the +1/1 mechanic, your randomly summoned minion from the mechanic of the game also gets the +1/1 because
Right.
it summons first. So
Right.
like it's really cool how it works.
That's really cool. Speaking about particular cards that that you think are really good, what other sort of cards do you think work well in this game mode?
There's a lot of big so let's more talk about spells. Like I mean there's some minions that I guess you can play and it's kind of interesting. Like what I mentioned before, running Violet Teachers is really good because you get those extra 1/1s and stuff like that. But like, if you look at big spells, like big spells are the more interesting parts because then you get big minions. Like if you run something like a Flame Strike in a Mage deck, there's only I think 13 7-drops in the game. So you Flame Strike and you get a 7-drop.
Yeah.
But one of the 13 minions is Prophet Velen, the Priest legendary. And that legendary has the effect that you double all damage or double all healing. So it summons the minion before your Flame Strike goes off and you hit their entire board for 8 damage. Like I've had that happen to me.
Yeah, you have a 1 in 13 chance of that happening.
And that, if it happened, you clear their entire board. There's like no doubt that you're going to clear that board.
Right, and deal quite a bit of just damage in general. Yeah, that's a lot of value out of that.
I've been running stuff like Tree of Life, which is the 9-mana Druid card, which restores all health to all characters on the board.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they get you really low, you heal yourself up, and you get a 9-drop. It's just so trolling, but it's so much fun. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's cool. That's very cool.
What about yourself?
Well, I generally just played the games that I played only with Mage because I couldn't really think off the top of my head what other sort of classes I should probably be playing. I mean, I have an idea of like if we were to do a top 3 list, which we should probably do again like we did last time. I mean, Mage right now would be number 1 for me, just theory crafting it out. But yeah, because I literally just built a deck of just Mage spells, which is pseudo control in a lot of ways. You know, Blizzards, you've got your Flame Strikes. Turn 1 Arcane Missiles is awesome, especially if you are legitimately turn 1 if you're the first one to go. That's 3 damage face and you get a 1-drop on turn 1.
Yeah, there's a post on Reddit saying that someone on turn 1 they went coin double Arcane Missile. It's like that is probably the worst play possible that you could have done in Constructed, but now you get 2 1-drops in a either a what's it called? Target dummy / wisp for 0 mana because of the coin. So it's like from that being the worst possible thing that anyone could do if they were playing the game to being an actual decent play because you get 3 minions it's crazy how much it changes.
Right. It's really, really cool. And then running a lot of secrets, like counter spells is pretty great because people are going to be using spells in this mode. You're not going to be running into a lot of people that aren't if they know what they're doing. But my second game that I played the first one against our good friend Alex Whitehair from our other shows. And we had a good time playing with that. We both played he played Shaman, I played Mage. And yeah, the spells were just overwhelming in my favor because it's just with Mage you get a very structured like this is the cost, you're going to get value out of this way. It's not very situational. Like every single card stands on its own in a lot of ways, right? It's just either single target damage, AoE damage, or CC. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. With Shaman, you have to be much more creative. You have to combine things. I mean, there's a couple of good things like with all the overload cards and stuff like that. Like there are a couple of good things. Lightning Storm you can play on its own, that's fine. But like Rockbiter Weapon and stuff like that, you have to be in the situation, and I don't think that this kind of like manufactures that sort of situation for you to like make those sort of well thought out plays because the RNG could either be in your favor or work against you.
And if I can jump in here really quick,
sure.
The reason I don't think Shaman is that great is because their spells are all very low cost because like they give you the what do you want to call it, overloading, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like if you look at Crackle, for example, 2 mana, 1 overload, right? And if that card was in any other deck without the overload mechanic, it would be a 3 mana spell, right? But it compensates by having the 1 mana overload. So you're kind of just messing yourself up for the next turn and getting a lower drop minion.
Yeah,
like,
you're
I'd much rather have I'd much
Go
rather
ahead.
have a 3 mana crackle rather than having a 2 mana crackle with a one
Yeah.
mana overload, right?
Yeah, you're committing to a lower curve because of that. Because not only are you putting yourself behind in this turn because you're getting a one tier lower minion, but then the next turn you're screwing yourself because you can't cast as many spells.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with Mage, again, it's pretty straight, just value trading. It's like the hunter of this mode, to be completely honest. Just in a very kind of strange sideways sort of way. Cards that I found worked really well. Dragon's Breath, or is it Dragon's Flame? Which one is it?
Oh, the 5 mana deal 4 damage?
Yeah, that one, if you need to trade a couple of minions to put it like within your cast range and stuff, you can do that too, or you can choose to make it the 5 mana 4 damage, which sometimes actually is better, depending.
Or if you look at like, hey, I need a taunt to survive this turn, so I'm gonna trade because I know there's a lot of 4-drop taunts compared to 5, 3, 2, or 1, right?
Yeah.
So like you can actually play into that, give yourself a better chance to survive a turn because that card
Absolutely.
gets reduced mana cost.
Right, per minion that's died that turn. So yeah, that's cool. That's a cool scaling card that if you're strategic about it can serve you very, very well. We already talked about Arcane Missiles a little bit. Yeah, all the secrets are great. The ice block, all that sort of shit is great. The duplicate mirror entity is great. Yeah, I mean, Mage is just chock full of cards that are appropriate for this. That just, you can't really go wrong. Because you don't have to worry about... It's like playing Tempo Mage, but you don't have to worry about making sure you're keeping up with board presence. Because it does it for you.
Yeah, it's kind of true, yeah. No matter what, you're going to get, like, extremely more value out of your cards than you should be because of the random drop.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, let's do that top 3 list of classes you think, and then why. So, why don't you start with your number 3?
Number 3, I would have to put Mage. I haven't played it, but I mean, they have a lot of already strong spells. Like, they're probably one of the class. Like, I always talk about how Priest has, like, naturally strong minions, but, like, Mage has naturally strong spells. So, I mean, like, I'm assuming they're very strong. They have a lot of good spells that are kind of very important. Flame Strike, as I mentioned before, giving you really good 7 drops can completely turn a game. Like, big spells like that are just crazy. Do you want to do your third, or you want me to go?
Let's trade. Yeah, let's trade.
Okay.
For 3, I would probably actually say Hunter. Because I've tried to draft a couple of times in Arena before I knew what I was doing. When I would play Hunter, I would choose a lot of spell cards. There's a multitude of Hunter spell cards that are just underutilized, and in this one I feel like would shine. It's a lot of board control, it's a lot of removal, and it's a lot of mitigated damage and stuff like that. So I feel like if you were quick about it, like using Quick Shot to get more cards in your hand and things like that, using all of the secrets at your disposal, you'd have a lot of board control and also would deal a lot of damage, and then you begin those creatures from your spells, so you could still just run face if you really needed to. And you could just fall back and rely on your hero power if nothing else works. I think that's a pretty strong contender. How do you feel about 2?
2. I'm stuck between 2 of them. I've already mentioned them both, but I think I'm gonna put Druid at number 2 currently. I think that like cards like Power of the Wild, having that give you like being able to buff the minion that you randomly spawn is crazy. I think, of course, if you're running combo Druid, which I've been doing, like double Force of Nature, double Savage Roar, if you play Savage Roar and you get what's the minion with charge? It's not running anything, so I don't know its name. The 5/2. No, it's a 5/2. Yeah, so it's like if you get that from like accidentally using your Force of Nature, then Savage Roaring, it's like that's an extra 8 damage that you shouldn't have got just because you randomly.
Of value,
it's like I got that in one of the games I played combo, but it's like Savage Roar into and Savage Roar is a 3 mana card, so I mean you can accidentally get a Wolf Rider. So, I mean, you can get these crazy charge minions, which could just completely add to your combo potential. So it's like, okay, The only way I win this game is if I can do an extra, 5 damage. Oh, from Savage Roar, I got a Wolf Rider, which I buffed now, because, the card gets summoned first, then you buff it. So it's like, there's an extra 5 damage that I needed. So, there's some crazy RNG that you can, theory craft to give you these game-winning combos.
Right.
And then I think cards like Tree of Life are just absolutely crazy, because if you do play against a hunter or something like that, you can just Tree of Life all the damage that they put on you back, and then just have a 9-drop that they have no way of clearing.
Sure, yeah. For my number 2, I'd probably agree. Druid sounds, and from my experience from playing Druid, it seems like that would be a strong one. I was really tempted to go Warrior. Control Warrior seems like something that'd be a little bit interesting. Because if you stack yourself correctly, you could accidentally find yourself in a control warrior situation. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
I mean, okay, there's quite a few spells on warrior side, and I feel like if the spells went off first and then the minion was summoned, if it was flipped, I feel like warrior would be very good.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, like, the highest warrior spell is Brawl, which is the 5-mana spell, so...
Right. And then
Sorry, I think there's one that's higher. I think Crush is higher, if I'm correct. I think
Brawl,
Crush is...
Brawl would suck, I'm assuming, because that minion then gets sucked into that Brawl.
But the thing is, like, when you play Brawl, you usually, like, summon a crappy little minion just in case you win the Brawl. So, like, you clear the entire board. So I guess it kind of does that for you. Like, I was thinking about that. Instead of, like, summoning, like, a 3-mana cost and then brawling and hoping that you win the Brawl, you just play Brawl and, like, it automatically summons a minion for you and you hope that you win it.
Hopefully. Yeah,
but yeah, like, the highest cost card is Crush, which gets reduced to 3 mana if... you have a damaged minion, so like chances are the highest mana cost spell you're going to use is Brawl. So it's I don't know how well control work. I'd like to try.
I mean, if you could even just stall it out until late game and just put out some of your own stuff, you know.
That's true.
I don't know. Yes, I would probably go with Druid, but I think Warrior was worth kind of mentioning. That'd be interesting at the very least. What about your number 1, mate?
Priest. I think every single Priest card is so good in this. Like, if you just look at everything, it's absolutely insane. Like, you look at even cards like Light of the Naru, like 1 mana, heal yourself for 3, summon a minion. So now you're summoning 2 minions and healing yourself for 3. Or if you look at stuff, if you look at stuff like Shadowward Pains or Shadowward Deaths, it's just like easy little 2 and 3 drops that you get. Yeah. So not only do you remove their minion, but you get a minion for it. I was looking at Mind Games. I think Mind Games is bad, but like, it's a 4-mana card. You put a random card from your opponent's deck onto the field. So not only do you put their card onto your side of the field, but you also get a 4-drop. So like, there's all these cards that not only do you like steal, like here's a better example: Shadow Madness. You gain control of an enemy minion with 3 or less attack until the end of the turn. So not only do you get their minion for the turn, but you summon a 4-drop. So like, these cards are like, they're just stacking. Like, and I mentioned Mind Control earlier. There's only 2 10-drops in the game, being Sea Giant and Deathwing. You Mind Control, like, who knows, their 8-drop or something. So not only do you now have their 8-drop for the rest of the game, but now you have like a Deathwing or a Sea Giant. So like, how do you play against that? It's absolutely crazy.
Right, that's pretty great. Related to, I know this is your number 3, but I have to go for number 1 for Mage. I mean, they've got Power Blast. That's a 10 mana cast, and you've got 10 damage, and then you can get a Sea Giant or a Deathwing. So I feel like they're also they have a strong showing as well. But a lot of it is just like trying to decide whether or not you want your damage cards to go face or you want it for removal and board control. And you have to like commit. You have to commit to that choice, and this is where Mage kind of like fall off. Is that you have to commit to that choice of either going board control or face before you know what the minion is that you're summoning. Because in a lot of cases, if you double down, you end up doubling down on the investment of board control by summoning and also going with damage on them. So 9 times out of 10, I was just going face or removing big threats on the board that needed to be
I saw, like, yeah, it's kind of like you have to play around what you're going to summon. I saw someone accidentally summon a, goddamn, what's the 3/2 that does 1 damage whenever you use a spell? It's a 2-mana drop. Let me look it up really quick.
Oh,
it's a common.
The Flame Leviathan? Not the Flame Leviathan. Oh, the...
Wild Pyromancer, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so I saw someone play a 2-mana spell. They randomly summoned Wild Pyromancer, and then they started using other spells without noticing what they, like, summoned. Like, they just used all their spells at, like, the same time. So they completely board cleared their own board, like, did 2 damage to the entire board because they accidentally summoned Wild Pyromancer. It's just like, god damn,
yeah, you can get
it's so much fun. Is there any like cards that you think are normally bad and that are really good in this, or like some fun little things that you've been trying? Or
I think Mirror Image is really great on Mage because it gives you 3 minions on the board and 2 of them have Taunt. Like, I mean, and normally that card isn't bad though, so I don't really feel like that qualifies.
Yeah, it's not like a naturally bad card or anything.
Frost Nova is good because I was chaining a couple of turns in a row. Like, I got a Frothing Berserker, and they had a full board. So I got Frothing Berserker for my Frost Nova, right? Yeah, he's a 3 mana. And then I had 2 Blizzards in my hand. And so and this was like turn 5. So I like hero powered and Frost Nova and got him out there. And then I Blizzarded 2 turns in a row, and he just got ungodly huge and just swung and won that game for me. So it was pretty great. Other opportunities I feel like that like this game mode can kind of shine would be playing playing with a friend and then trying to figure out bad classes that you think would go up against each other. So like when I first read the description for this event, I mistakenly thought it meant when you summon a minion, it summons a random other minion of the same cost. And so I was trying to get Alex to play with me, and we both were like, yeah, let's play Shaman, or let's play a Warlock deck, so that'll be fun as hell. Or I'll play, or Paladin or something like that. Like, there are a couple of spells you can put in there that are pretty great, like for Paladin, Avenging Wrath to get some damage on the board, and also it's a high mana cost spell, which is kind of strange for them. There's a lot of buffing spells in Paladin as well, so that could kind of make for kind of an interesting mid-game, or mid-range game between you two, if you guys can arrange that. But, I mean, time and time again, classes such as Shaman and Paladin are going to lose to, like, you know, the Druid or the Mage in this kind of setting. But that's fine too.
Two fun cards that I was trying to run were I was running a Lorewalker Cho, because like if you get Lorewalker Cho in your opening hand, you coin out Lorewalker Cho, so you get a 1-drop. I mean, you get you get your 0-drop, and then you get you get your 0-drop, then you get Lorewalker Cho, and now they really can't use spells or else they're screwed, because like you can then get their spell. It's like the most trolly fun thing to use. And also the other card I was trying to use was Millhouse Mana Storm. I crafted Millhouse for this, so like once again, props to Blizzard for making me want to craft cards, right? Like I crafted Millhouse because people were like, yeah, Millhouse is going to be terrible. I remember talking to Alex, and he's like, yeah, like why would you want to give them all these free spells, seeming that they're probably going to be running spell decks? But like, so you coin out Millhouse on turn 1, right? And great. I was playing against a mage, and she pyroblasted me in the face, and she got a wisp.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just wastes. I took 10 damage. Great, you used your pyroblast, but now you have a wisp on the board instead of like getting a Deathwing later. Right.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird sort of trade of investment. I can't really think of any other things other than that's pretty much it. Like, what do you think is the worst class? Do you think? Because I think like
I was gonna say. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I asked you a question.
I was gonna say either Shaman or Warrior. I think Shaman, like we talked about, their cards all being like kind of backloaded in like the way that the mana is issued, like through overload. So those are kind of rough. And I think Warrior, because like their spells only go up to 5 mana.
Sure. I would probably say Paladin or Warrior, kind of tied for bottom too.
I think like Paladin has good cards like Lay on Hands though. Like you draw a ton of cards, you get an 8-drop, and you heal for 8. Like
that's true. Yeah, you do get a lot of like just cards in your hand if you know what you're doing. Hammer of Wrath too is not a bad card for this. It's a 4 mana, right? For 3 damage and draw a card.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, and 4-drops are super strong. So if you get that out, that's great. I think that's pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else to talk about with this Tavern Brawl, can you?
No, not really. I was going to mention really quickly that like Warlock, I tried it. Like that was one of the first classes I tried after Priest. Mm-hmm. And I put in like Twisting Nethers and stuff like that, like 8 mana clear the whole board. Then I realized that like when you play Twisting Nether, it summons the card first, so you clear your own card.
That you get kind of owned, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like Warlock cards like that, like Hellfire and stuff like that. It's just it clears your board too.
Yeah. So just get out there and be creative and try it out. I think this one will be exceptionally fun to play with friends, especially like I was saying earlier. If you guys convince each other to play bad classes, it could probably make for a pretty interesting game. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us for this pre-brawl. Let us know how you guys fare. If you guys have any funny stories or anything, send them our way, and we could read them on the show when we do the Hearth on Saturdays. It'd be a cool thing to email us. You can email us at thehearthshow@gmail.com. That's pretty cool. And then you can call us at 861-4-HEARTH to leave us a voicemail. We would love to hear from you. We play those voicemails on the show if you'd like us to, and answer them as if they were emails, but high-tech and with your voice and stuff. That's a cool way to get involved with the show. Other than that, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Just search for Hearth Podcast on Twitter, and then on Facebook, just search for The Hearth. You'll find it. Or you could find it through association with Leaguecast. If you aren't already a fan of Leaguecast on Facebook, you should do so. Make it so, friends. And then the last thing, we are available on Stitcher and iTunes. So if you feel it in your heart of hearts, leave us a review. Hopefully it's a good one, but if it's not, I understand. Maybe don't do that then. Maybe send us an email instead and be like, your show sucks. instead of putting
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, we like that because we like to fix the show. And then if you'd like to support the show and like get episodes of the proper show, not these pre-brawls, these are always going to be free and open for everybody. If you'd like to help support this show, you can go to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/thehearth. And then if you guys support us, we hit certain milestones and stuff like that, it allows us to do some cooler stuff. We have our proof of concept up for our arena run with our paladin deck that we did. We'd be happy to do those every single month for our Patreons if we hit that point and stuff like that. And also like deck breakdowns of popular builds and stuff like that. And then of course the regular show. It would probably be in our best interest to buff that up and extend it and make it into something you guys like to continue supporting. So other than that, I think that's going to do it for us. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of The Hearth. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.